And in this video, we're gonna be breaking down how much you should be charging for a school visit. Because honestly, in my experience, there seems to be about 4 pathways that you can take to price yourself for school visits. While the last one is my favorite, we're gonna break down each one of those pathways so that way you can better understand it and you can make the best choice for you. But understand that you don't have to stay stuck in one of these pathways. You definitely can fluctuate depending on where you are in your author's journey. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Pathway number 1, you can charge nothing for your school visits. And that's completely okay. When I was starting off as an author, I think I did about 2 or 3 school visits for free before I was like, all right, I need to start charging. This is not gonna work for me anymore. But you definitely can start off without charging anything for a school visit and still get booked. And if you choose to go down this pathway, there's a lot of benefits for you. I remember this time period of my life, and I remember how much I was able to grow my confidence, or I was able to gather a lot of testimonials from the schools that I was going to, the teachers I was interacting with, that I was later able to use in my one-pager about school visits, or to pitch myself, or for them to do more referrals for me to other schools that they knew. So I was able to have photos to put on social media. And so there's a lot of benefits to doing a school visit for free. Now the cons of that though, or that you're doing it for free, so you're not making any money off of it. But honestly, if you're choosing this route, it's really just about what you're looking to get out of it. For me, when I was in this period of being on the free track when this comes to doing my school visits, I just wanted to get more confident in it. I wanted to just get that validation that people actually did want me to come to their schools and to read my book, and that they actually enjoyed me being there. And honestly, I think sometimes people have the misconception that if you don't charge anything, that you will get overwhelmed by the amount of schools that want you to come in. That's not exactly the case. Just because you're not charging anything doesn't mean that every door is open for you to come into a school to read your book. So definitely weigh the pros and cons of this. The biggest one just being like you're not making any money, so that's gonna be a financial hit for you. And I say that so much because doing a school visit is during your typical 9 to 5 hours. You can't do this on the weekend like a vendor event. So you are possibly taking off of work, or you're doing a half day from work. So you possibly are losing money from your job, and you're not making any money to justify that on the back end. But if you're just looking to just get started, build your reputation, build your confidence, build up a portfolio of photos that can show that you have done school visits, there's nothing wrong with you not charging anything. But if you are looking to charge for school visits, then perhaps pathway 2 is more likely the best option for you, where I had a minimum number of books that I required schools to purchase before I came to do a school visit. Now, this pathway works well if you are dipping your toe into charging people and you don't feel comfortable charging a lot of money. So you're able to justify that easier instead of saying, here's my price for a service, but here's my price for products, right? So I will come read this book, interact with your students if you purchase, say, a minimum of 20 of my books. Now, here's what I would emphasize when it comes to pathway number 2. You, as the author, need to be the distributor of your book, so that way you can fully feel the financial benefits of doing it this way. If I say you need to purchase a minimum of 20 of my books for me to come in to do a read aloud for your students, you need to be the one to sell them that books from your own inventory, so that way you are getting the cash without there being any percentage taken away from you. I bring that up because schools could say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna order it from Amazon or Ingram Spark, but you may not be able to verify that before you do your school visit, or even if you are, because they may be buying it from a third-party reseller, you're gonna get significantly less than you could if you were the one selling it directly. I only bring that up because remember, Amazon or Ingram Spark, they all take a percentage of your sales. Now, if you're only selling your book on third-party websites and you're not doing your own personal inventory, you can definitely still do this as well, but just know that you're gonna have a less of a profit margin because Amazon or Ingram Spark has taken away a certain percentage of it than if you were selling directly yourself. But you also want to verify those purchases were made before you actually go to the school, so that way you can make sure they actually bought the books, instead of saying like, oh yeah, we'll buy the books, and then you do all this work and then you don't get paid. Personally, when I was on this pathway, I enjoyed it a lot. But I was also at a point as an author where I wasn't comfortable charging a fee just for me to come in to read the kids. But I was more comfortable charging for a product because that was something I was doing already at vendor events. It was very comfortable for me to say, buy this book for X amount of dollars and I'll come do X, Y, and Z for you. but it also allowed me to get a good meter on how much money I could make if I was just charging for myself. So what does that look like? Let's say my minimum for a school was, I need you to buy 30 books for me to come in to be a Real Loud guest. If I'm selling my book for $15 and I need them to buy 30 books from me, that allowed me to know that I was making $450 by just coming into that school for 1 to 2 hours to engage with their students. And that's when I really started to understand the importance and the validity of me charging for me as Charisma coming into the school and not just for the books themselves, which is how I ended up moving from Pathway 2 into Pathway number 3, where you're just charging a flat fee for you as the author to come in to engage in read-alouds with students. You don't have to worry about making sure you have a large inventory at all times, just in case the school wants to book you. You need to keep at least whatever your minimum was at all times on you, so that way you can make that sale as needed. So I didn't have to worry about maintaining my inventory, but it was also just a great confidence booster to know that I went from saying, okay, you need to pay for all of these books, and I'll come, to being, there's no books, but you're just paying for me as is to come in, read my book, engage with kids, and have a fun time. It was a great confidence booster. Now, I will say, if you are choosing this pathway of number 3 and you're just charging a flat booking fee for yourself as an author, you need to be very clear about what you are providing during your time period of a read aloud. I bring that up because as a children's book author myself, I can say, oh, I'm gonna read my book. But realistically, like, a picture book is only 30 pages. Like, this book, it's very short. Can you even see the pages? It's not thick at all. So me saying I'm gonna read this book for an hour, 2 hours, it's not likely. Even just I'm reading this book for 30 minutes is not likely at all, because there's so much more time that you have if your book is not super long. And that even applies if you have a chapter book. You're not gonna read the whole chapter book to a student population while you're there for author visit. You're gonna read an excerpt of it. So something to keep in mind if you're just gonna charge the flat fee is thinking about what activities you're gonna have students do while you're there with you, so that way you can justify that price. So yes, you're gonna read your book, but also are you gonna include a short talk where you explain your writing process and how you became an author, and then the journeys and the ups and downs? Are you gonna have an author Q&A? Are you gonna do an activity with the students as well, so that way they can further dive into your book, into your story? Thinking about those things further solidifies why they should be paying you a flat fee just for you, regardless of if you have books to sell or not. And this is something that you should be doing, like, regardless, but especially if you are doing Pathway 3 of just charging a flat fee. Knowing what you are encompassing in that school visit, what all you're offering them, is gonna be so beneficial, so that way you can justify that price and you can get paid. But my favorite pathway is Pathway number 4, which is a mixture of Pathway 2 and 3, which essentially means this. You are charging a flat fee for you as the author to come into the school to read your book, do your activities, do your Q&A, and all that fun stuff. But you are still requiring a minimum of books to be sold. But if they meet their minimum, they get a 10 to 15% discount. I still want my book in the hands of the students at the school I'm going to. So still having a sort of, I don't want to use the word requirement, but still having like a push for the school itself to purchase the books is really beneficial. And when you do this model, you can also remind the school that it's not something that the school themselves has to pay for. Schools have a PTA or a PTO, a parent organization. And so the PTA or PTO can help with purchasing those books as well. You can have forms that are sent out in advance of your school visit where families can figure out if they want to purchase the book in advance. So there's pathways that schools can take to lessen the load on them paying for all those books, whatever your minimum is going to be. But this is the pathway that I love the most and that I do the most often, because not only am I getting paid for my services of me coming in, because like I said, I'm taking off time from work to be here at the school for 1 to 2 hours during my 9 to 5 work hours, but I'm also making sure kids are still getting my book. It may not be every single kid, but kids are still having the opportunity to have a book to engage with my story once I leave the space. Pathway number 4 is definitely one that I recommend because I think it's a good balance of you getting paid for the work that you are doing, but also making sure that students are getting the books so that way they can take it home and they can share with their family, their friends, their siblings, and whoever they want to. Every author's price is going to be different from yours, because what you are bringing to the table is completely different than what someone else is bringing to the table. It doesn't mean that you change anything that you're doing, but it's just important to keep in mind because sometimes we can compare ourselves to other people without understanding that comparison is going to be hard to do when everyone is so different and so unique. Now, if you've enjoyed what you've heard so far in this video, be sure to subscribe to The Author's Heartbeat so that way you don't miss an update as new videos drop on this page. Because this is the place that writers go to find clarity, confidence, and community. And we're so glad to have you here so that we can support you every step of the way.